Hey guys, this is Coach Powell coming to you live from Coffee, Tea, You and Me. It is 3:06. I do apologize for starting late. I'm hoping that I can get a couple people on the call today and we can have a wonderful time. I got some exciting stuff prepared for you today. I'm going to see if I can log into my own live chat over here and let's just see if this is going to work the way I want it to work. I believe I can. I think I can. I think I can. What do I got to do to get it done here? Well, just relax. I will get it done. There's some material for you guys to look at. If you haven't already, you can go to the live video feed and you can see some of the material I've already prepared for today's chat. It's going to be off the chain. Okay, let's see. Can I log on to this via my computer and then we can go ahead and get started. Alrighty. Okay, somebody's out there. If you are coming on and signing on for the first time or for the second time, it doesn't really matter. I would love it if you would go ahead and put your name and name of your company in the chat box. That would help me to make sure that we stay in front of you and we introduce you correctly and all kinds of good stuff. There's a lot of opportunities we're going to be sharing today, so I want to make sure that you are up to speed and up to date. So go ahead and put your information in the chat box if you're joining us, and we will make sure we announce you real soon here. And I'm going to see if I can't get a couple other people on this call so that we can have a robust and beautiful time. How about that? All right, it looks like we're coming up. That's going to be beautiful. Okay. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I've done some different things with the Coffee Tea You and Me program. So for those of you who are checking us out, I love it if you would go to the page wherever you found the link to get involved with it. You should be able to find some of the downloads we've shared with you all so that you can jump on board with us and make sure that you are staying on top of the program, the presentation, and all that kind of good stuff. I am attempting to log on to my own stuff, but it looks like I got a very, very slow network going on right now, and it's giving me just a little grief, but I think I can handle it. I got my beautiful printouts here. All kinds of good stuff. All kinds of good information in here. All right. So we got the chat rocking and rolling. This is beautiful. Okay, guys, for those of you who haven't been around, or if you haven't seen what we do here at Coffee Tea You and Me is a program that I started years ago. about 18 years ago, as a matter of fact. And I started the program because I recognized, as I was an ambassador for various different networking organizations, and I spent time with lots of community service groups and lots of business organizations and boards and things that I sat on. I found that a lot of entrepreneurs and business leaders did not have a good handle on how to do basic communication strategies. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the communication strategies of master networkers. How do you do communication appropriately? How do you get it done right? How do you focus on it so that you don't fumble around, you don't make mistakes, you don't do things that are going to damage your reputation or anything like that? I see we've got a couple friends on, so if you are joining us, make sure you log in to the chat box, because I'm going to have you do a lot of exercises there. So make sure you put your name and your name of your company in the chat, because that's going to help me make sure that we pay attention to you and make sure that we announce you correctly and all that kind of good stuff. So whoever you are out there, if you will go ahead and put your information into the chat, that would be really, really helpful, and will help me make sure that we recognize you appropriately. All right, so as we go on today, we're talking about something that was near and dear to my heart and very, very special. We're talking about the networking communication principles, the things that you have to always remember no matter what you do when you're working with people and you're working with your network. And when you think about networking, a lot of us think about networking and we think about it as this weird, isolated type of situation where we're not really as involved as we could be with people. And I've been working on this for years. I've been a professional in the networking space. Some people consider me a guru. Some people consider me a master at networking and building relationships, building professional relationships. And these are things that, tips I'm going to share with you, are tips that I've learned, but also tips that I've done a lot of heavy research from, not only just the great books that have been out there in the past, but I've gone deep. I've gone back to the ancient wisdom, back to the Bible, back to the ancient Greek philosophers, back to history in a lot of historical context. So we're going to be sharing with you over the next couple of weeks all of the things that you need to do to make sure you're communicating effectively in your network, even in this tough time. How are you communicating, and how are you getting your message out there, and how are you receiving messages from other people? How are you engaging in a meaningful, powerful, and passionate way? And we're going to go through those ideas today. We're going to talk a lot. We're going to give you exercises that you're going to be able to do. I'm going to have you interacting with me via the chat room. And so I'm hoping that you'll participate. I see you out there, Carla. Thank you very much for logging in. For those of you who are logging in for the first time, go ahead and today make sure you put your business and name of your business in the chat box, and I'll make sure I give you a shout out on the video. All American Financial Services with Carla Bennett. Thank you very much for coming in, Carla. Really appreciate your energy, your time, and your focus. We're going to have a lot of fun today, so pay attention, right? So we're talking about networking communication, and we found that networking communication is basically the way to build, to maintain, and maximize the value of any professional network. No matter how you slice it, you're going to want to make sure that you're doing that. You're going to make sure that you're communicating in a way that actually creates and builds and maintains your network. So how do you do that? What are the things you got to deal with? Well, these are some of the questions that, we originally asked. What are the best strategies and techniques that any professional has to learn to communicate effectively, and how to make sure their colleagues and associates and referral sources have everything they need to have in order to help them be effective. This is critical to your success as an entrepreneur, as a small business professional. You're going to want to know how to communicate well. And there are a lot of things we talk about. When we talk about communication, most of us get stuck in the mindset of presentation. And presentation is a very, very important aspect of communication, but it's only, I would say, a third, if not less, than active and participatory communication is presentation. The most of communication has to do with listening and processing what you're listening to in a way that when you do respond and communicate, you can do it more effectively. This is important because you're going to want to make sure that the colleagues that you work with, the associates that you work with, and especially the referral sources that you work with, not only understand what you said, but get you and like you. They have to be able to have that connective tissue with you in order for you to maximize the value of that relationship. And so let's get into some of the details here that we're going to be talking about for the rest of our time, right? Throughout this course, we're going to discuss a couple things. We're going to be discussing the meaning of networking, communication, and how you can apply that meaning to various situations. All right, I see a lot of people are jumping on right now, and I want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure you put your name, the name of your company in the chat box, and that way I'll be able to announce you as you come in. I'll be able to announce your name, you and the name of your company, and maybe give you some expert, shout outs kind of thing, so that people know how to find you and all that kind of stuff. And it's really important that you do that. Plus, we're going to be doing a lot of participatory exercises, and I'm going to ask you to respond in the chat. By the way, if you can hear me right now, do me a favor, hit that button on your screen that says like or joy or happy. I just want to see the little hearts and stuff go across the screen. Just want to make sure everybody is on deck with me. We're talking about what we're going to discuss today, which is basically the nature of this course, right? We're going to talk about the meaning of networking. We talked about that. We're going to talk about the 6 most powerful benefits that you can get out of your network and communication. And these are going to be incredible things, right? We're going to talk about why it's important to everyone that you are able to communicate and be able to receive communication in a meaningful, powerful, passionate way, right? We're going to talk about what professionals all over the world have always understood about communication. We're going to discover a modern day neuroscientific basis for everything that we do when it comes to communication, because you realize that everything we do is not just history, it's not just philosophy, it's just not, this is based on real hardcore neuroscience. And so we're going to elevate you from the past to the future to what we should be thinking about and how our brains actually work when we're communicating, right? Then we're going to talk about the principles and the values that you need to embrace. These are very, very important, because these things will guide and direct everything that you say and do. If you embrace them correctly, if you understand how to embrace them correctly, then your communication is going to be authentic, it's going to be natural, it's going to be useful and meaningful, and it's going to be purposeful. It's going to really help people connect with you and then work with you in a way that's important for you to be able to work with. After we've done that, we're going to talk about some of the different practices that are out there, how others have responded. I'd love for you to respond in terms of how you're communicating to other people, with other people, in ways that are meaningful and valuable to you. And if you tell me a good story or talk about some things in the chat next week as we continue to go through this series, we will actually work with you to figure out, how do you embrace that? How do you move that forward? How do we share this story with other people in the correct way, right? The last thing we're going to do is we're going to go through tons of valuable exercises. Every single week throughout this series, I'm going to try to give you exercises that you can go home with, exercises that you can take with you and run with, and then use those to increase your communications practice so that you can begin to be more effective in what you're doing, and people will work with you better. Okay. So as I said earlier, some of the things that are very, very important that we all need to recognize is the strategies, right? We have to think about what kind of communication strategies are going to work best for the people that we work with. And, I love taking the guesswork out of everything when it comes to business, when it comes to responding to business. I see you out there, Alfred. Al Pham is here, right? Al Pham is a realtor, right? He was on earlier with me on an earlier call that I was doing today. So I really appreciate you coming by. It's good to see you out there, Alfred. So we're talking about communication strategies, right? What are the best strategies? What are the best techniques? What do professionals really use to communicate more effectively? Now, I will tell you, there are some things that naturally come up, right? We always want to try to communicate the same message the same way to the same people all the time, right? The same. That is not going to be an effective communication strategy. You have to talk to clients differently than you talk to referral sources, differently than you talk to people that you want to network with. All of these 3 ideas, 3 of these concepts, there need to be 3 different levels of communication. They need different information. They need to be presented differently. And so you can't present the same information the same way to everybody, because it's going to be ineffective. Communication is so personal, and you're going to learn a little bit about why I'm saying this. This is so personal that you really have to, before you open up your mouth and decide, I'm going to say something, you really have to do a good job of receiving information. What are the things that people need to hear that are going to be most effective in creating relationship with you? And that's going to be different by the person. That means you're going to have to do an awful lot of work, really taking the time to understand what it is that other people need, what it is they're saying, what it is they're convicted about, what their values are, what their character is like. You have to discover other people if you really want to effectively communicate to them. I don't know how many of you all are out there, but when you think about it, when was the last time you met a stranger and that person made you feel so good about yourself that you literally just fell in love just a little bit with that person? I will tell you, there's many stories that many of us have had over the years where we maybe have sat in a conversation with somebody on a long trip, and maybe, they shared a pickle with you or a sandwich or something like that, or some water, or just was kind to you, had some kind words for you, and you struck up a conversation. And I would find out, and it happens to me quite a bit, I found out at the end of the trip, I may know more about that person at the end of this conversation than a lot of their close friends know about them. But I may not know their name. I may not know what they do. That's not even important. We had such a good time just communicating that we lost ourselves in time. We thought this 4-hour trip or 5-hour trip was going to take a long time, and ended up feeling like it was 20 minutes because we had such a great conversation, right? So you want to make sure that you know how to effectively communicate with anybody. And we're going to teach you some of these techniques. We're going to teach you some of those techniques today so that you can make sure that you are on deck and that you're on track to do that. Because if you're not, I got a feeling you're wasting your time talking to people who don't want to talk to you, aren't really listening to you, don't care about what you have to say, and I'm not really going to ever understand you. You're not going to build connections, and you're not going to be able to leverage that idea. All right? So let's talk about this idea of networking communication in terms of what it means and how we want to define it. Right? Okay. When you look at communicating, especially within your networks, there's a unique definition that we come up with in my organization, the Roundtable. And the Roundtable is one of those networking organizations that are out there. We're trying to make sure that we teach and train and develop professionals in a way that they're really going to be excellent networkers. They're going to be able to create relationships and manage and then leverage those relationships in a mutually satisfactory way, right? That's our definition of networking. Our definition of networking communication is a little something like this. The networking communication principle is a strategy that leaders use to share intelligence, share ideas, and expertise with their well-established professional networks. Let me repeat that. The networking communication principle is a strategy that leaders use to share intelligence, ideas, and expertise with their well-established professional networks. So let's break that down for just a second. When you're talking about sharing intelligence, we're talking about sharing information that is pertinent and germane and valuable, right? You have to know that this information is valuable before you share it, because it's not just data. You don't want to share meaningless drivel to people. You want to share intelligence, information, knowledge that can help them propel or prepare or get ready to experience or move something forward. This is a critical thought when it comes to communication. Because if you're going to share stuff that you want to talk about, that's great. But you're running the risk of offending the person that you're talking to, because they may not want to talk about that. And they may want to find the closest exit door they can to get away from you. So you want to share meaningful intelligence, meaningful information, something that people are going to be able to hold on to and grab, right? The second thing you want to do is you want to share ideas that matter to other people, right? If you're talking about things that don't matter to other people, then you're talking just to hear yourself talk. You're talking about yourself, for yourself, with yourself. You're not talking to people. You're not communicating. You're actually just talking, right? We see that happen to a lot of times. In people networking, they get up and they stand up and they talk about me, how wonderful I am, how talented I am, how great I am, how special I am, and how I want to be special for you. That's great that you want to be special for me. However, if you're not talking to me about something that I need, you just wasted your 60 seconds elevator speech, whatever it is you want to call it, talking to somebody who doesn't care, doesn't want it, not interested. And instead of knowing that I could be a potential referral source for you, you treated me like a potential client. And once I make the decision that I'm not trying to buy from you, I'm also not going to refer you. So think about that. How are you effectively communicating your message correctly to the right people at the right time in the right way? You've got to do some work. You've got to do a lot of homework in order to get that done, in order to do that well. And we're going to give you, again, some tips on that, right? So your ideas have to be shared well. Your expertise is another thing that you can share really, really well. But again, if that expertise is not valuable to other people, if you don't even know what's valuable about your expertise and you can't articulate it in a meaningful way quickly, without using a lot of drama, without using a lot of jargon or anything like that, I think you're missing the boat. I see you out there, Terry Barlow from Home Organizer. Great to see you. I appreciate you. I'm glad you joined us. It makes a big difference for me. I want to make sure that everybody who is on, make sure you put your name and the name of your company in the chat box. That's very, very important because that's how we're going to get in contact with you. Also, it's going to help me to make sure that we give you a shout out properly and we make sure we represent your business the way you want to represent it as best we possibly can. And we're going to ask you to do some engagement later on. So I want people to have a preview of who you are out there already. So go ahead and put your name and your company in the chat box if you can. And that's going to help me facilitate this thing. So I talked about a little bit about the definition of networking communication, right? It's about sharing intelligence, ideas, expertise to your well-established professional network. Now, if you don't have a well-established professional network, that's okay. But I want you to know that the reason why we communicate in the roundtable is so that we can help each other establish our networks, grow our networks, create our networks, and then leverage our networks. And so most of the things you're going to hear me talk about today have to do with creating that opportunity within your network, right? Because you never know where your next mentor is going to come from. You never know where your next strategist is going to come from. Your next person is going to help you with your operations or help you with your promotions or even put you in the right positions to connect you with the right people, right? So you have to know how to get to all those opportunities and how to communicate effectively within your networks to get to all those opportunities. And by the way, everybody has networks. Whether you want them or not, whether you know it or not, you have networks. And if you study those, you're going to figure out that there's some connective tissue between those people that you're networking with, right? Very, very important stuff. Okay, so I want you to ask a question, answer a question for me right now in the chat box. I talked about the three different things that you can think about when it comes to communication strategy, right? You're sharing intelligence, you're sharing ideas, and you're sharing expertise. What do you want to share with others? Do you want to share information and intelligence? Do you want to share ideas, your creativity, or do you want to share expertise? I know you want to do it all, but I want you to everybody in the chat right now, pick one idea that you think is most important for you to be able to share. Is it intelligence? Is it ideas? Is it expertise? And go ahead and log into the chat and share that information. And as you're doing that, I will move to the next slide. And by the way, if you have access to whatever information you use to find this video chat, you probably also have access to the downloads that I'm going through. So I won't show those with you. I'll show those to you, but you can print those off. I'm going to continue to add to that PowerPoint deck as we move through the series over a series of weeks. So feel free to jump on that. Gene, I see you out there. You expertise. That is a very, very critical thing to be able to communicate. And when you can communicate your expertise really, really well, it helps for people to feel like you're trustworthy, people that they can actually use what you have to offer. And even if they can't use what you have to offer, they still like you because they know that you're an expert in this particular area. And the more don't feel like you can't be specific when you communicate your expertise. A lot of people go, well, I want to be a jack of all trades. Well, the jack of all trades doesn't get to be an expert in anything. And the expert is the person that we all want. We all want to know an expert. We all want to work with an expert. We all want to hire experts. We all want to be associated with experts. We don't want to be associated with general practitioners. Those things don't excite us, because if I could have a neurosurgeon as a friend versus a general practitioner, if I had to choose, I'm choosing a neurosurgeon. I'm choosing the knee guy. I'm choosing the guy who really get with that foot. He knows something, because if something happens to something happens to one of my friends on the racquetball court as I'm playing or whatever that is, they don't want a general practitioner at that point. If something happens to your shoulder, I need somebody who's an orthopedic person, somebody who gets that body mechanic thing and knows how to make that work. So an expertise is very, very important to have. It's very, very important to know how to share it properly, so that people know what to do with it. Either they know how to use it themselves or know how to pass it on to somebody else who might need it. And we're going to talk about different ways you might share your expertise. All right, so we talked a little bit about the definition of networking communication. Now I want to get into the communication mindset, right? It's critically important, right? You have to have the right mindset when you're going to communicate to people. And this excerpt from The Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens really, really sets off the idea of what I think is the perfect mindset for the communicator. And let me read it to you. Dickens says, in A Tale of Two Cities, "A wonderful fact to reflect upon, that every human creature is constituted to be that profound secret and mystery to every other." I repeat that. A wonderful fact to reflect upon is that every human creature is constituted to be that profound secret and mystery to every other. That was a trippy idea when I first read it. When I first read this years ago, I'm like, what is Dickens trying to say here? Is he saying what I think he's saying here? He's saying that every person that you meet has a unique thing, a unique quality, a special something just for you, that they were literally born to share with you. And if you could unlock that mystery, that secret, then wonderful things can happen. Isn't that a great thought? Isn't that a great concept, to think that each one of us was born to share something special with each one of us? All we have to do is hang in there long enough with a person to try to figure out, what is that something special that you have to share for me? So I want you to imagine, as you're having that mindset, right? You're in a room full of high quality professionals, or you're even in a chat room with high quality professionals, or you're with someone else, right? Right now, even those of you who are logged on to this live presentation, think of it. If you look at each person as somebody that has something unique, something special, something mysterious to share with you specifically, that's just for you, not for anyone else. When they speak, won't you listen to them differently than maybe you might be naturally predisposed to do? Won't you listen to them with a more careful, thoughtful attitude? This is a critically important thought process. Because if you believe, as I believe, that every person has something special to offer, every person has something unique, every person has a differential advantage with and for just you, that makes you super special. But it also makes everyone else super special. And so you can look beyond all the barriers that we put up that involve race or size or gender or sexual orientation, and get right to the fact that there's something that that human being has to offer you that you need to find out what it is. Now I know what you're saying. I don't have time and space for every person. I'm an introvert. I definitely don't and won't have time and space for everyone. But that also means I need to be really discerning as I meet people and as I put them in categories and to say, okay, well, I don't want to play with you to this level, but I'll play with you to that level. Just try my situation is really, really, really important. So let's make sure that as you're looking at people, as you're thinking about your communication strategy, you start deciding who you want in and who do you want out, that you actually pay attention to that special message that someone has to deliver to you. And we'll get to a little bit more on that. And we're going to do a couple questions and exercises in just a second. In this slide, I think it's slide number 6. If you had a chance to look at the downloads, we're asking the question: are you thinking and behaving properly with others? And for those of you who know me, know that I love the Bible, and I tend to read that quite a bit. And I've discovered this unique thing on Google. You might want to check this out. You can pretty much think about what does the Bible say about almost anything. Right? You just Google, what does the Bible say about this? And when I looked at what the Bible says about being trustworthy, I found a great opportunity here. The number one quote on the Bible about how to communicate effectively and how to be trusting with others is this: James 1:19. And what it teaches us is that we have to take the time to listen to each other with intention. Notice how Dickens comes back to my mind. Might come back to your mind too, right? We have to listen to each other with intention, with reverence, and with keen interest. So to be purposeful about how we listen to one another, to be respectful of who that person is and what inside that person might benefit our lives in a very meaningful way, and then to be so interested that it borders on passion when you listen. And I got a feeling that you're going to be doing the right thing when it comes to gathering the kinds of information that will help you then do the next part of this, which is, while you're listening to someone, you should temper your negative emotions and always be sure to think and process all of the information that they're sharing with you thoroughly before you open up your mouth and start blah, 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 me, I got some ideas, I got some thoughts, I want to share, blah, blah, blah. Because when you listen to someone so intently, with respect, with care, with reverence, with listening for that special, unique voice that they may share with you, that might come from the universe itself, right? You're going to be in a better position to communicate with them effectively. We're going to come back to that thought process, but I want to stick that in your bag and let that muddle around in your mind for a minute, because the quote in chapter, in fact, quote what they call it, the chapter and verse, James 1:19 says, "Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger." You see, there's a proper ratio to your speaking versus your listening and processing, right? If you're speaking more than you're listening and processing, you're not doing communication correctly. And they've known about this since biblical times, right? That's pretty cool for the human family to have figured this out. And now, today, modern neuroscience is backing this up in many different ways. Now, we're not going to get into the neuroscience stuff this week. We're going to save that for the coming weeks. But I want you to think through, when you communicate with someone, when you're listening to someone, what's more important to you? Is it more important that you listen with full intention, purposefully? Is it more important to you that you listen from a respect point of view, where you literally revere this person and what they're saying? It's important that you listen just with a very, very keen interest. I would love it if you would go again into the chat room and tell me what of the three things in terms of your listening, what do you like best? Do you like listening with reverence? Do you like listening with respect? Do you like listening with a keen interest? And just again, write down in the chat box, what is the most important thing to you? And while you're doing that, I'm going to do a couple of administrative things. It's because I think my phone is running out of juice and I can't have that. So you guys just hold on tight. I'm going to keep talking. I do want to continue broadcasting. I did lose you guys. I'm sorry that the broadcasted thing. Here are the three things again. Thank you very much for asking, Gene. I want you to write in the chat box the three things that you think are the most important ideas and concepts when it comes to your listening and listening to other people. Do you like listening with reverence? Do you like listening with respect? Do you like listening with interest? Reverence, respect, or interest. And let me just tell you what that is. Listening to a person with reverence means you're listening with them. Intention, reverence, and interest. I lost my mind. Listening with someone with intention is like listening to someone on purpose. Like, I want to listen to you. I've chosen to listen to you. I've chosen you. You are special because I've chosen you, right? Listen to a person with respect or reverence, meaning they are so honored in you and in your life that you listen to them because you just love them. There's something about them that spreads some joy and sunshine into your life, right? And then listening with people who you're just interested. They've done something, they've seen something, you've said something. Those are people that you really are interested in listening to for some reason, right? Those are things that I think that are key ways to interest. So thank you and again, I love it if you are on the chat. Just tell me how you like to listen. Do you like to listen with interest? Do you like to listen with reverence? Do you like to listen with intention? Thank you very much. Okay, so let's move on. We talked about listening and how listening is important, right? And there's no getting around that. But now we're going to get into the meaty, sexy part of our presentation today, right? These are the 6 core principles of communication. And when you understand these principles and you use these principles really, really well, you're going to be able to really benefit from communicating effectively with others. So there's 6 benefits. Here they are. 1, you get to build confidence with other people. And this is critically important because when you're communicating effectively, it's a natural occurrence that people will begin to trust you. They'll begin to like you. They'll begin to understand you. You're going to have a level of confidence in them that's authentic and truthful. They have to come from a place of authenticity and truth, and you have to receive what they're saying from a level of authenticity and truth in order for the connections to happen. But when that thing happens, you're going to build trust and you're going to build confidence in that person tremendously. Number 2, you're going to be able to prevent problems from happening. And when problems do happen, you're going to be able to resolve them quickly when there's excellent communication going on. No matter what's going on with a person, no matter what they do, if you have a good communication strategy going, then the problems that you may have with each other, the things that you may face with one another are going to be marginalized because you'll be so great at, again, rebuilding and repurposing the language and the words that you use in such a meaningful, powerful way that it doesn't. I keep getting this broadcast message, and I know I'm going to cut out on you guys any second now, and I can't figure out how to stop it. It's driving me crazy. But in any case, we're going to keep the party going as long as we can, right? So what happens is you're going to have to prevent the problems from happening by communicating more effectively. Number three, good communication always provides clarity. If you find yourself more confused after you talk to someone than before you talk to them, this is not a good communication, right? It didn't happen the way you thought it was going to happen, the way you wanted it to happen. And this is very important because if you get this right, then the speed at which you get to clarity with one another, to have those aha moments, is going to be incredibly fast, right? Because you'll understand them, you'll get them, you'll know what they're talking about, you'll understand their inferences, everything will work better. Number four, when you have good communication strategy going on, people, engagement is always increased. Always, always, always. You're going to find that there's a massive increase in how you engage with people when you can communicate effectively. Number five, when you communicate with people correctly, you create relationship. I mean, it just really happens. Not only do you can reconnect, you can recreate, you can rejuvenate a relationship with good communication strategy. Often that means shut up and listen to what the other person has to say, right? But it's very, very important that you think about it that way. And then last but not least, you improve productivity. You're going to work together better. You're going to work together faster. You're going to work together at a higher rate than you would if you did not have a good communication strategy working. And again, there's nothing more important when it comes to building human relationships and moving human relationships forward than great communication. So let me repeat the 6 benefits of communication for you real quick. Number 1, you're going to build confidence. Number 2, you're going to prevent problems. Number 3, you're going to provide clarity. Number 4, you're going to increase engagement. Number 5, you're going to create relationships. And number 6, you're going to improve productivity. Now, you might want to write these down if you haven't already printed out the PowerPoint that comes along with this, because I'm going to have you do an exercise really quick. And again, let me repeat them again. If you need to write them down, get a piece of paper, do whatever, that's fine. Or chat them in. You can type them in the chat box if you want to. I don't care. But as long as you look at them, I need you to see them all at the same time. Is it more important for you when you to receive these benefits from your communication? Do you want more confidence in yourself and others? Do you want to prevent problems from occurring and being able to solve those problems quickly? Do you want to provide clarity for yourself and for one another? Do you want to increase engagement with someone? Do you want to create relationship with someone? Or do you want to improve productivity with someone? No matter how you slice it, I want you to think about what your favorite is. Now, the best way to do this, and I find this is an exercise that I think you should do either now or in the future, is look at them and check them off by the least most important thing to you. And then get down to number 1. So if I were looking at this myself, looking at the chart myself and thinking about what's my favorite, I would go from backwards forward, right? So I would go and then when I actually do something else, right? So let's make sure you do that. So let's take a look at this. For me, providing clarity is important, but not as important as problem solving. So that's going to go off the list. I'm down to 5. The next least important one for me is preventing problems. That's not going to be there. I'm not going to have that problem. The next least important one for me is, this is a tough now. We're getting down to, okay, I'm going to go with creating relationships. That's important to me, but not as important as building confidence, increasing engagement, and improving productivity. The next least important one for me is probably building confidence. And then the next one is improving productivity. What I really like to do more than anything else is increase engagement. Because I find that the more engaged I am, the more I get all those other benefits that come along with it, right? So I want my communication strategy to most of all, increase engagement. That means I got to spend a lot of time with outreach. I got to spend a lot of time listening, a lot of time trying to understand others so that others feel safe and they feel like I'm someone they can talk to. I'm someone they can relate to. Because if I don't do that, if I don't engage, if I don't communicate what I care about and how I care about what they've said or what they've done, then I find that the relationship is not where it needs to be. the confidence doesn't get to be developed. I don't be able to get to that point of clarity. We don't have more productivity. So for me, the key is engagement. And I can't engage with everyone, so I have to be very selective about who I choose to engage with for my business, for my life, and for everything. And so I do it by roles. Like in my role of a father, right? If I assess what I'm really good at as a father and what I really need help with as a father, then I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to need more engagement. I'm going to need to share the things that I'm really, really good at, which would be listening, not judging, and making sure that I put the needs of my child first, right? When it comes to a decision over my needs or their needs are going to come first. Those are the things I'm really, really good at. What I'm not so good at is maybe I'm not so good at slowing down that internal voice that says it's got to be this way. Okay? Or slowing down that internal voice that says if this doesn't happen the way it looks like that happened for me, then I'm not going to feel comfortable with it. I got to be good at being uncomfortable. And so when I'm looking for help in that regard, right, I need to communicate that well to other fathers who've been there, done that, and could go, okay, this is how I dealt with that. How did I deal with the uncomfortable nature of allowing my child to do something that I wasn't allowed to do? But I see that it's not necessarily the wrong thing. It's just that I wasn't allowed to do it. How do I get comfortable with that? And that is something that's very specific, and it can narrow in that role to help me out. So anybody who's a parent might have some ideas for me. You understand what I'm saying? So think about your needs for communication and your needs for understanding, or whatever wisdom that you have, or whatever ideas you want to share, and think about it at that in a way that it's going to be beneficial to both you and the person who gave you that advice. Now, the person who would give me that advice on how to be more comfortable and thinking outside the box when it comes to raising my child is a person who probably didn't get a chance to share that information with a lot of people before, right? But now they get to share it with me. And we found that unique thing that they have to give to me uniquely and special. And that is going to create a brilliant relationship. You get where I'm coming from? I hope you understand that. So we've talked a lot about communication and what it means. And now I want to get to a point where we're talking. I'm not just talking, but I'm answering questions. So I want to know from you all, what has worked in communication strategy for you in the past? Have you been a good listener? Do you need to be a better listener? Have you been good at taking in what you're hearing from diverse sources, and without judgment, being able to respond in a clear and positive manner? How's that work for you guys? Anybody want to chat? Anybody want to share? Go ahead and hit me in the comment box, or in the chat room. It's a chat room, right? The comment box. I would love to hear what you're thinking about these things. Gene said that your favorite engagement or favorite communication strategy is an engaging strategy, one that values engagement. I'd love to hear more about that, Gene. Why do you think that way, and why do you feel that way for you? You heard what it was for me, but I'm interested to hear what it is for you. Any thoughts on that? I'm going to see if I can't get the chat box up. For some reason, I can't read that. I'm seeing the video, but I'm not seeing the chat come up on my computer, which is scary. Oh well. Let me see if I can do it this way. I can. Ha ha ha. Out of the 6 that stood out to you. That's great. I'm asking you why. Why did that stand out to you? I enjoy engaging with people. I love it. I love it. Me too. It's critically important. I find that when you can engage with people, everything can happen. It makes leveraging the relationship so much better. Um, Here's a thought. I'm going to get into this a little later in the coming weeks. But you know how we said earlier about how you listen and you listen for cues or you listen for opportunities to be relevant with someone else, right? When you're doing that by oftentimes when you're listening, you're I'm not saying leading the conversation as much as engaging in a way where you begin to figure out what works best for you and what works best for the other person. So I found that some super powerful questions that I can always ask a person to get to some very, very meaty stuff. And I call this big talk versus small talk, right? Big talk gets to the things that people value, right? Things like their family, things involving their occupation or their associations, things involving um, their recreational activities, what they do for fun, and things involving their success or achievement. These are things that people love to talk about in general. And so if you start to ask questions about those things, and there's an acronym that I want you to remember. The acronym is FORM. Family, occupation, recreation, and money. The more you can ask people questions associated with FORM, that acronym, then the more you're going to be able to engage with them, the longer you're going to be able to engage with them. I've had conversations with people that start in one section of that form conversation and move quickly to the other sections of that form conversation, and we feel so good about each other, and finally they'll ask me, well, what is it that you do again? And by that time, I will have had enough information from them and engage with them in such a powerful way that they're actually listening to what I have to say. And I know how to craft that message in a way that's going to resonate with them. So that's one of the other reasons why being able to take your time and really, really get to understand somebody, even if it's 5 minutes before you speak, you're going to have a better opportunity to then take that relationship to the next level. Right? That's very, very important. Jean said another thing for engagement is, I'm sure she's still typing, I like entertaining people and making them laugh. That's good, but I want you to be careful with that. And I'll tell you why. The laughter thing works well as long as you're not being considered foolish. Because it flies in the face of expertise often if you are the kind of person that's being perceived as being a clown or not necessarily serious, especially when it's time to be serious. Comedians can get away with it because they're well rehearsed and well practiced. But a lot of people try to use humor to bond and build relationships, and they end up saying something that actually detracts from their perception of competence and of character, which again collectively messes up the whole notion of trust, right? So people need to feel like, in order to truly engage with you, they need to feel like that you're special, that you're smart, that you're talented, and that you care. But if everything to you is a joke, or it seems to be jokey all the time, then that's very difficult to do. And I like that, I'm a big believer in the fact that laughter is the best medicine. But you need to be careful that you don't create a problem for yourself. And if you're not, some people think they're funny, they're not really funny. I feel sorry for them because they're not going to be ever taken seriously, especially when they want to be taken seriously. And it's hard to transfer that to this. Also, I love that you're right, that feeling of energy that you get from making a true connection with somebody is so powerful. It's so palpable, and it's a wonderful tool and a wonderful strategy that I think a lot of us need to do better with. They need to do better with that transfer of energy. And what I find, and this is true, that humans are connected to each other through like a wireless connection, right? And when that happens, there is an energy that transfers either positively or negatively, person to person. And I find that that positive energy transfer takes a lot more planning, a lot more effort, a lot more forethought than we would normally think that it is. Because again, like I said earlier, to look at another person as if they have something meaningful and special to give you when you're not used to looking at another person like that is a challenge, because you're going to have to now start to go, oh, wow, I got to look past all my preconceived notions. I got to look past all of my, the way my brain is organized to deal with people like that person, a short person, or a tall person, or a person who's heavy, right? I got a preconceived notion of what that person is and what they do and who they are all about, right? And I got to now undo that in order to really see that person and see something special in that person. And if I'm not practiced in that, then I'm going to have a problem. So again, try some of these exercises out when you're alone, you're home, or whatever you're doing. And if there's something that you want to key in on for next week or you want to talk more about, definitely put in the chat room what that is. And because next week I'm going to get into the first of the principles. And I'm going to talk more about that first principle, which is how do you use your communication strategy to build a tremendous amount of confidence and trust with other people. And it doesn't take time. A lot of people think, it takes so much time. No, it doesn't take time at all. What it takes is your ability to share your character as well as your competence. And there's some techniques that I'm going to talk to you about in terms of how do you share your character and your competence in a way that's going to be able to maximize your collective strength when it comes to putting together your networks, maintaining your networks, and then leveraging your networks. Okay, guys, I'm going to sign out now. If there's not too many questions, and I don't see any questions, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Unfortunately, my camera, my phone is not working with me, but I'm going to go ahead and sign off now and leave you guys again with that same quote from Charles Dickens, because I want this to resonate with you, and I want you to think and ask yourself the question: do I have the right communication mindset? Dickens says a wonderful fact to reflect upon that every human creature is constituted to be that profound secret and mystery to every other. Everybody has something special for you. You just have to be good at digging it out and finding out what it is. This is Coach Powell. Great to talk to you guys. See you next week at Coffee, Tea, You and Me.